Ladies and gentlemen, the Suez Canal. There has been a mishap and a battered supply chain ensues. What is actually happening? What does it actually look like? You probably heard the story, but you probably don't understand the implications. We're going to go into those implications as well as stocks I feel that might be interesting to watch this week as a result. Not only that, Cathie Woods, the smiling female of Cathie Wood's ARK Investments, is opening up her space ETF. What kind of stocks will be in there? We don't know, but I'm going to show you some very brilliant speculation for what will be in there. I am Mark Melnick, and this is the Newsbeat Show. Also, want to thank everybody for watching, reading the disclaimer. So, um, so this is pretty much what it looks like here, of what's happening in the Suez Canal. It's literally this thin little thing, and somebody made a joke and made it almost like a stock wedge bouncing off support and resistance, because that's just, absolutely hilarious. But pretty much you have a ship like this, and it's obviously not allowing anything to go through as a result. So this is pretty much what it looks like right now, and it is just absolutely battering. It is absolutely battering the supply chain. It's the Evergreen ship. If you haven't heard of it, it looks like this officially, and that's it. And that's what it looks like tilted right now as they're trying to move it out of the way. So what this is going to do is it's going to completely disrupt the entire supply chain. I believe there should be some interesting stocks going through this week as a result of this issue. Well, according to the shipping journal Lloyd's, it's the most iconic shipping journal out there. According to Lloyd's, just to share with you, the iconic shipping journal says that $9.6 billion pass through the canal every day. That's about $5.1 billion of traffic going westbound into the rest of the world, and approximately half, 4.5 billion, going into the ports. It's blocked both ways. So $9.6 billion are actually going through this port. And just to give you a little bit of a let's play calculator here, what that would cost you in a year, it's obviously going to be astronomical. It's obviously going to be astronomical um, what 9.6 billion dollars will look like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 billion. Nope. I have to do 365 times here. Just get the right number of zeros. 960 million right there. And you're dealing with pretty obnoxious number right there. How many zeros do we got? One, two, three. Just to give you, just because people I think don't understand the severity of it all, 100 million. It's $3.5 trillion dollars if you close this off for a year. You would disrupt $3.5 trillion dollars. And in, that's a lot of money, even for the United States, who prints it like it's cotton candy. Um, it's still a lot of money. So, what kind of names could potentially benefit um, from this, catastrophe? Um, a shipping catastrophe for sure. Somebody brought up this name. I'm going to be looking at these crazy shippers, and by crazy shippers, I'll show you what a non-crazy shipper is. Uh, Geronimo brought up Navios. I mean, I completely agree with this one. This stock was psychotic on Friday. By psychotic, at a low of $7.12, a high of $15.42. Had over 100% range off the lows. So you get names like this that move a lot. If you want something Less psychotic, of course. There's always so that's NM, November Michael. Navios Maritime will be a stock to watch. Ship, if you're into, smaller names, smaller accounts can more easily trade a ship than a Navios Maritime. I mean, the stock still had percentage-wise a decent range. It went from $1 to $1.26 range on Friday, and you could see in the past this stock has had like really wide ranges, like over $1 range right over here, 98-cent range on a on a $2 name. Definitely something that very big there. Other names like Nordic American Tankers, NAT, also had those crazy moves as a result. So I mean, you're definitely going to get a lot of action. Now, to show you, and just talk about it, you might be asking, well, another is there another way around? Is there another way around the Suez Canal in order to in order to, you know, get stuff through to the port where it needs to go? The answer is yes, but just to show you how effing hilarious it looks and why this is so important is right over here, um, right over here is the Suez Canal. It pretty much goes, right through the heart of the Middle East, right over here. So what you see on the top side over here, on the right side is where it goes. If you wanted a detour, you would literally have to circle, go through Mozambique and Madagascar, swing around South Africa. Based on wind currents, you wouldn't even want to hug Africa. You would just want to make like a long glide around it. So you could get around, they don't show it on the map here, do they? Uh, anyway, Mauritania and Guinea. But you'd pretty much have to go all the way around here, cross in between Morocco and Spain and Tunisia, and then go deliver it here. So it's literally 15,000 miles. So to give you guys sort of a stupid estimate of what 15,000 miles looks like, it's like New York to California 5 times over. It's like going from New York to California 5 times. That's what 15,000 miles looks like. It is massive. But there's good news. If you are a shipper, because they're going to be able to, you know, charge not only higher rates based on higher demand, but they're also going to need to travel more. So it's not like, well, you pay for you don't just pay. The way this works is you don't just pay for, you pay your fee ahead of time, but you don't the mileage in which is required is baked into that fee. So if the fee is going to add an additional 15,000 miles to the journey, you're talking about something serious. Now, of course, now I'll tell you some counter arguments for this scenario, but like pretty much the big problem is countries like China, Japan, Korea, anybody who's coming from the east of here, they are going to have the problems because they're used to just swinging around India and going right through the Suez Canal, all fine and dandy. Unfortunately, they are going to have to take a disastrous trip around the Indian Ocean if you're coming from, Australia. Australia would be a place, on the opposite side of the world. China, Japan, you're going to have issues. But one thing not being mentioned, it's not going to be a big deal from the United States of America. This is actually going to have huge, huge benefits to the United States of America. Because what's going to happen is, like, if you could see in the top left here, here's the US. We're going to just be able to head east, and it's actually going to be faster because the U.S. never really, we don't really need to use the Suez Canal for traveling from eastern United States of America. We could just literally, just go right south, right in between Morocco and Spain and just deliver it there all along. So that's going to become a more crowded route now. and those trips are actually gonna. I'm predicting those will even take longer because everybody's going to have to reroute their destination. I would definitely be looking at some of these shipper names. I mean, dry ships doesn't exist anymore, but any one of these ship names, SHIP is a shipper, Navos Maritime, NAT, and there's dozens of others. There's Scorpion Tankers. What is that? Sting. Sting is one of the names. You got FRO. Just thinking off the top of my head, Frontline will be one of them. And if you thought that the oil at your pump was expensive now, wait till you see the price of your gallon of fuel here in the United States go up as a result of this. That's what most people are going to subtly notice, and they're not going to understand why. That's weird. My gallon of gas was $3.30. Why is it $4 now? And people are going to just think it was just the way it was going up all along ever since we shut down the key was it the 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 Keystone pipeline. This is going to cause further oil disruption. I'm telling you that right now. Now, some people are talking about, watch some of the easier, the more no names like the FedEx and the UPS. Yeah, I think people can try these as comps, but no. You can't really fly these materials in. I mean, you can, but it's just so. I mean, what are you going to do? Fly oil into somewhere? Pay oil, pay for the weight of the oil on the plane, and liquid weighs a ton, a ton. I don't really see. I mean, UPS and FedEx could react bullishly, but I think it would be as a result of common man's ignorance as opposed to other things. Now, don't get me wrong, there are going to be some things that paying a bunch of planes to fly out could be a quick, eloquent solution for some of the lighter loads, but the whole point of ship is to do bulk, heavy things are the best things through ships because, there's only so much weight you could put on a plane before you start dragging it down. UPS, FedEx have their fleets of planes, obviously. Um, it will be interesting to see how a UPS and a FedEx move. Um, Next on the radar, I want to talk a little bit about Cathie Woods, and she's doing a new ETF. Now, it's going to be called ARKX. So instead of ARKK, this is Cathie Woods ETF. It's an ETF that holds things like Tesla and whatnot. It was, this is a weekly chart. I'll show you it on the daily. It was doing a lot better in mid-February when Tesla was at all-time highs, and you'll actually notice that a lot of that this ETF sort of moves very similarly to Tesla. Like if you look at Tesla here, and then you look at ARKK, it's a very similar move comparatively. So she is opening ARKX, and you can't actually see it because it's coming out. I believe it's coming out this week. Is it coming out tomorrow? So it's going to be a space ETF, and nobody knows the holdings. Nobody, nobody knows the holdings of it. But here's some smart research. I think, um, I think one of the biggest holdings is going to be Iridium Communications, IRDM. I think that's going to be one to watch. And you might stop and say, wait a second, Mark, what does that have to do? What does that have to do with space? Because most people, you're probably thinking, oh, Virgin Galactic has to be in there, Mark. And I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I think, in terms of sex appeal, like most people would put this into a space ETF, but uh, I want to show you something here that's going to blow your mind. Is this is a Japanese space ETF, and it's it's going to be managed by the same people. This ETF is going to be managed by a lot of the same people who, and I'll blow it up for you. A lot of the same people who run this Japanese ETF will be managing Cathie Wood's space ETF. And this is the holdings. This is what nobody likes to talk about here. This is the holdings of the Japanese space ETF, and it's going to be managed by the same people, just so we're clear. So while nothing is 100% confirmed, it is safer to say they could be very, similar. And the funny thing is, you'll notice that inside this space ETF, there's no Tesla. But what you do see is companies like Amazon, companies like JD.com, companies obviously like SPCE, like Virgin Galactic, names like Autodesk, Garmin, Deere. I mean, so again, Boeing seems more obvious. How about Google and UPS? And this is going to be a very key one because if you think the Suez Canal could be bullish for UPS, I mean, if UPS is in the Cathie Wood Space ETF, and it's part of helping the situation over in the Middle East by the Suez Canal, that's almost like double dipping, right? Double dipping and trying to benefit from both ends. So, um, assumedly, you're probably going to have a lot of these same names inside inside the and inside the ETF. And again, I'm sure you could, if you want to, pause this video at any time and looking back, I'll just scroll down and I'll show you the names. You got Fleer, Dassault Systems, JD.com, Teradyne, Amazon, Kratos, L3 Harris Technologies. I think that's triple L unless they had a symbol change. Maybe LHG. Is that it? I don't know. Airbus, Virgin Galactic, Autodesk, some Japanese company here, which, I have no idea what that says. You have names like Garmin, Deere, UPS, Google, Boeing, Honeywell, Spirit Aerosystems, and also was that AJRD, I think, Aerojet Rocketdyne Holdings. So you do have a lot of these interesting names that sort of give the ETF a lot of diversity. And what I mean by that, I mean you're calling it a space ETF. UPS, how much of their money is coming from outer space? Google, how much of their money is coming from outer space? And I think what they also mean is like they have satellites and planes, and they use things like that, like satellite technology and planes, and I think they're sort of combining that in. So there's a very good chance you're going to see a lot of these names over here within it, and it should be very interesting. In terms of the market, it's definitely been um, it's definitely been very interesting. It's definitely been very interesting with this market here. And hold on, I just want to, yeah, just make sure I share that with the room. Okay, one moment, just X that off. One thing nobody is talking about, which I think doesn't get good press, is the fact that the spiders are near all-time highs. The Qs have been divergent from the spiders. All-time high on the triple Qs, $338. We're much farther away from that all-time high compared to the spiders. On Friday, the spiders hit 396.41. All-time high on the spiders are 398.12. So we're literally like $1.71 off the all-time highs of the spider. There's a good chance the spiders make all-time highs. I know a lot of the tech names have been sort of lagging, especially in the sexy electric vehicle space like a Tesla and things like that. But if you go ahead and you look like at a Goldman Sachs or you look at a Citigroup or a JP Morgan, these stocks have been holding up like champions. Excuse me, all the banks, things like that. I mean, even names like Boeing in this recent market decline have been astronomically strong. astronomically strong as well. And yeah, do you guys want to speak about Biden's potential next stimulus bill? Okay. So, yeah, and this is actually my favorite. I guess I'm covering three topics today. So we went over the Cathie Woods things, we went over the Suez Canal. So you can find it pasted and plastered all over Google, that there's going to be an infrastructure bill. When you do infrastructure, steel is a very vital component to infrastructure. And given that we are far from make-out relationship with China, given the fact that we're not at a make-out relationship with China, Chinese steel, um, I think it's going to bode phenomenally positive for names like Nucor. That's NUE. I think it's going to bode very positively for names like Letter X. And I also want to point something out. Letter X and Nucor being my two favorite out of the group, but I want to show you something. Here's a monthly chart of Letter X. 2008, this stock was $196. These are names, that's Letter X. Nucor, much stronger. You see how Nucor is not far from all-time highs already. $83.56. This is a monthly chart. It's almost back. A lot of these steel names made all-time highs back in 2008. Here's Steel Dynamics already making all-time highs. I think it's Letter X's time here. I think Letter X is just such a beaten to snot name, and maybe there's good reason for that. And in all fairness, I didn't do my full fundamental due diligence on comparative analysis between Letter X and a Nucor and maybe an MT and ArcelorMittal and other steel names like this, which again ArcelorMittal also very beat up. But if there's going to be an infrastructure bill, here is my best argument. Watch this. Watch this. In this infrastructure bill, I don't think anyone thinks it's going to be not in the trillions of dollars. So just looking at a letter X here, you got a $6 billion name. Here's my point. You have a $6 billion name. If you're doing a trillions of dollars in infrastructure, just imagine that US Steel gets $1 billion from there. What do you think would happen to the stock? What about 5 or 10 billion? It would be more than its market cap currently. So yes, I do think you're already seeing some bullishness into it. Letter X, for example, had a 11% move. As Biden, I think Biden is very, to get completely, I don't give two F's about what your political views are, but just to talk about presidential tendencies that I've seen. If you've listened to the way Biden talks, he's very big on saying that when he was talking about the vaccine, if you guys were listening, you got to listen for the clues. He was saying that it happened much sooner than expected. He wanted, what was it, like 100 million jabs or doses given by a certain amount of time. And he said he wanted those 100 million doses by this many days, but we were way ahead of schedule. He was touting that as a form of accomplishment. So, what I'm saying here is there's a very good chance, in my opinion, time will tell, do your own due diligence, that if President Biden is very big on trying to get shit done before a certain time schedule, if that's what he boasts about, it would be interesting to see if they pass this infrastructure bill sooner than later. If there is one at all, of course, but I'm assuming A, there is one, and B, it will be done sooner than later, is, my predictive analysis here. It could be absolutely huge for these little beaten up US steel companies who really have not been part of any rally. I mean, here's a weekly of letter X. I mean, this stock has been in the shambles, and it's been in the shambles for a very long time. It'll be interesting to see what happens if you print money and say, here, we need all your steel. Of course, I'm expecting global prices to increase. We're printing trillions of dollars. We're going through what I consider a U.S. form of hyperinflation. No, I don't think it's going to be like the Zimbabwe dollar or the old German dollar or any of these other hyperinflationary, obnoxiously, numerically changing environments for some of these countries. But what I do see is I personally could see names like letter X tripling in value. So, letter X for me, and again, do your own due diligence. I'm not an analyst, etc. Don't give stock picks, investment advice, as you read. Also, including with the disclaimer, I could see this stock going to $40 really quickly, because it almost feels like people are understanding already what's going to happen. And the truth is, this company doesn't have to do anything. There doesn't. So what happens is what an infrastructure bill does is, you always have people like it's supply and demand. People aren't building new buildings all over. People don't need the steel, and I'd agree with that. But don't underestimate by putting out an infrastructure bill, you're literally creating demand where there was none. So imagine this. Imagine there's very little to low demand for steel, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, $3 trillion, $2 trillion, $2.5 trillion, $4 trillion drops out of the blue sky and says, "We want this money to build up infrastructure," out of nowhere. Like, boom. Day one, zero demand, 1% demand. Day two, 1,000% demand. And that's exactly how that would work. So it'll be very interesting to see how that pans out. But yeah, I think I touched on some good stuff here today. We talked a little about the um, Biden infrastructure for a potential stimulus bill. We talked about the Suez Canal. We also talked about Cathie Wood's ArcX space ETF. So, from the bottom of my heart, I hope you guys enjoyed this Newsbeat show. Happy trading, make money. Look, I'm not even going to pitch you. I'm not even going to tell you that you could join T3's #1 service by just looking in the comments of this video in the description. I won't even tell you that. Happy trading, make money. I'll see you guys next time on the Newsbeat.